Where the Lonely Ones Roam by Glimmerglanger. Read by Exmanhater. Adora regained enough strength to walk by the end of the following week. They didn't speak again about her moment of terrible sacrifice, or why Catra had taken her away, or of her continued presence in the hut. They did not, really, speak very much at all. Tension lived in the spaces between them, along with words unsaid that lingered so close to the surface Catra could almost hear them echoing through her ears. She helped Adora walk, the first few times, Adora's arm over her shoulders, Adora's weight pressed against her side. Adora ended up breathing hard by the time they reached the door, trembling a little, despite the fact that all of the injuries Catra could see were well on their way to being healed. She remembered the smoke curling out of Adora's mouth and shuddered. "You should go back," she said. Adora shook her head, tightening her grip around Catra. "No," she said. "I want to sit in the sun." Catra rolled her eyes, but helped, leading Adora further into the meadow, startling at a burst of sudden sound and light. "Adora!" a voice cried, familiar and annoying, that poofy pink princess, Glimmer, who appeared only a few feet away from them, holding onto her sidekick, Bow. "We found you! Let her go!" The last was directed at Catra. Glimmer balled up her fists. Bow had, unsurprisingly, drawn an arrow and aimed it at Catra. Catra raised her eyebrows. "You sure that's what you want me to do?" she asked. "Stop it!" Adora panted. "Put down your weapons!" Glimmer looked back and forth between them, little sparkles of light dancing around her fists, her mouth twisted up unhappily. "But we're here to rescue you." "Oh, now you want to rescue her," Catra scoffed. "I need to sit," Adora gasped, and Catra ignored their unwelcome guests to lower her to the ground. She'd only just slipped Adora's arm off of her shoulder when a burst of light and electricity hit her, knocking her off balance and back into the grass. "No!" Adora yelled, her voice cracking. Catra blinked, shaking away the spots, snarling and beginning to rise, caught back because Adora had thrown herself forward over Catra's legs, raising one hand toward the Sparkle Squad. "I said stop!" "Adora," Glimmer said, looking strained. "It's okay, we're here to help. I'm sorry it took so long to find you, but we're here to take you home and—" "Are you okay?" Adora asked, twisting around like she wasn't trembling in her skin, like pain wasn't carving lines into her face, like she couldn't help but trying to be the hero, just looking for a cause to sacrifice her body and life for. Catra scowled. "I'm fine, despite the best efforts of your friends." "Adora?" "Glimmer, I think maybe we should take a step back here," Bow said, finally, looking curiously around the clearing. "Oh hey," Swiftwind said, choosing that moment to drop from the sky, tossing his rainbow mane around. "I didn't know you guys were planning to drop in." "What?" Glimmer began, her tone tight and small. "Is going on here?" "Catra's been taking care of me," Adora said, out underneath the summer sun, after Catra went back to their hut and retrieved a blanket to wrap around her. She kept shivering. Catra thought about leaving, wandering away from this conversation, but curiosity kept her close. She wondered how they'd justify what they'd done, how they'd twist it all around to blame everyone else, how they'd dig their hooks into Adora and take her away again. "That's nice," Bow said, obviously the more diplomatic of the Sparkle Squad. He took a cup of water when Catra offered it, with only a minimal display of nerves. Glimmer took hers with a frown and immediately set it down. "And you're feeling better?" "Much better. I was in pretty bad shape," Adora said, looking aside with a flush rising in her cheeks, like she was ashamed of demonstrating weakness after almost dying on their altar. "Well, we can take care of you now," Glimmer said. "We won't let her keep you here. The healers in Bright Moon can figure out what's going on and help you recover." Adora stared up at them for a moment. She looked feverish again. "She isn't keeping me here," she said. Glimmer scoffed. "Right. Look, Adora, I don't know what she's told you, but it's okay now, okay? We'll take you home and get you patched up, and then we can get back to work." Back to work on what? Catra asked, the tip of her tail flicking despite all her efforts at control. Hordak is dead. Shadow Weaver is gone. You can't convince me that anyone else in the Horde is putting up much of a fight. Glimmer glared. We don't have to explain anything to you. Glimmer, Adora said, sounding tired beyond the bearing of it. Please. Fine, Glimmer said, crossing her arms. Yes, Hordak is dead, and the Horde seems to mostly have fallen apart. But we can't just trust that. We need to figure out what's going on before they can get ready to strike at us again. And you need Adora to do that? Catra drawled, the tip of her tail twitching. Adora waved a hand. I want to help, she said, despite the exhaustion in her voice. Great, Glimmer said, standing and reaching out to take Adora's hand. We can go right now. Catra narrowed her eyes. It was easy to feel angry around Glimmer. I'll bring Swiftwind, she said, the words a surprise even as she said them. They all stared at her. Bow found his voice first. You want to come to the castle? You? I'm not sure that's a good idea. Catra scoffed. And I'm not sure you're not going to try to kill Adora again after I just patched her up. So, yeah, I'm coming along. That's... I'll ride with her, Adora said, looking up at Catra with something unreadable in her eyes. I know how difficult it is for you to teleport more than one person, Glimmer. We'll meet you back at the palace. And if Catra had said the same thing, they would have needed to argue about it for an hour. Adora's decision got no arguments. Catra waited for the familiar flare of her anger, but she only felt tired and sick of still smelling the stink of burned flesh in her nose. She climbed onto Swiftwind's back behind Adora, holding her around the waist, too grateful that, this time, Adora was conscious and breathing steadily to think of anything else. Catra did not receive a warm welcome upon their arrival in the palace. She watched the guards gather around, their weapons all pointed at her direction, and smiled as she slipped off of Swiftwind's back. She glanced at Adora and said, "Friendly, aren't they?" "Stand down," Adora said, taking a step in front of Catra. "That's an order." The leader of the guards looked nervous. She glanced between Adora, Catra, and Glimmer, wearing the expression of a woman who had not been trained to deal with her current situation. "But," she said, "she's a Horde soldier. She was a force captain." "And now she's not," Adora said, managing to draw her shoulders straight, despite the tremble in her hands. "We beat the Horde." "Yes," the guard captain said. "But, we're still not just letting the soldiers run around." "Oh, really?" Catra asked, leaning around Adora's shoulder. "What are you doing with them?" The woman looked like she was reconsidering her choice in careers. "They're in the cells," she said, her voice taking on a questioning tone, "where they're awaiting a trial." "A trial," Catra scowled, hating the way the stones ground in her stomach. "A trial by who? The Princess Alliance? Because they might be found not guilty of whatever you accuse them of." "They are guilty," Glimmer said, neatly proving Catra's point. Catra scoffed. "Well, in that case," she said, "you might as well chain me up and throw me in with them." The guard captain took a step forward and Adora said, "No." The guard captain winced. "I'm sorry, miss," she said, "but I am supposed to take all Horde soldiers into custody. You can speak with Queen Angela about it. I'm sure she'd understand if there are special circumstances. Until then..." Adora opened her mouth again and Catra nudged her. "Don't worry about it, Adora," she said. "I need to check on everyone else anyway. I'm sure Angela will be understanding." She held her arms out to the guard captain and let herself be led away, while staring straight forward, refusing to glance towards Adora, Glimmer, or Bow.